Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds by nerds, hang out with this nerd.
Ted.
We delve back into our series, Why 5th Edition Dungeons & Dragons Needs Eberron. Today we're talking races, Changeling, Shifter, and Warforged. Hey guys, jump down in the description below where you can find Nerdarchy, the newsletter, game weekly tips, as well as learn how to game with Nerdarchy.
All right, so we're back to talking about Eberron. We're gonna keep this one going. We're gonna try and keep the love powerful and strong, and we want to see Eberron in 5th edition.
There is nothing. There's no problem there because we're about to dive into Changeling, Shifters, and Warforged, which are they're probably one of the most exciting things about Eberron for me.
So access to new races is one of those things that I think makes a lot of players like squee in enjoyment of like, oh, I get to play something completely new, and that's one of the things that makes Eberron so fantastic. When they made this world, they made it and they populated it with races. And then it'd be like, oh, well, I'm just going to throw this in there, and it's up to you to figure out how this fits into your world. They incorporated it all into the entire flow of the world and politics and everything. Utterly, utterly fantastic.
Yeah, and, it gave it really rich background. So let's just dive right into it. So changelings were basically this offshoot of doppelgangers. They're almost essentially like lesser doppelgangers, and they have the ability to change shape. They're kind of amorphous in the way they view society and way they interact with others. And there was definitely different philosophies when it came to the changelings. Some changelings would live many lives, right? As they would change their face the way someone else might change their cloak. Or there was also a movement for changelings that believed in going with their natural form, which a lot of the other races kind of find a little discomforting,
Off-putting at best.
Because they have a little bit of a strange look to them.
They look similar to doppelgangers in their natural state, which
they're like less ugly doppelgangers,
right?
But at the same time, as a race went, they were dexterous and agile as well as charismatic, and they were powerful at influencing others.
Now, one of the things that I thought was really well done, and it spoke to the actual theme of Eberron, was in one of the novel series. Like you meet this one character, and he goes through, and I don't even remember what race he was, and but he was doing all this stuff, and then at the end of the adventure, he goes back to his room. And he reverts to his normal form of a changeling, and he's like, "Oh, I got to remember that character. He was so much fun to be. I'll have to use him again later."
Yeah, but I don't even I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't even think you refer to it as a character, that person. Like they become real people to them.
Sorry, I spoke poorly, but yes, that
Yeah.
person. He changelings so often will make these personas and adopt them, and like Dave says, like sometimes you'll put on a cloak. These people, this race can create whole personas, and they'll go play them to have fun and do something completely different.
And they literally become those, and for different reasons. One might be fun, or it might serve a certain end, and they may have several of these identities roaming around. So actually, with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, the charlatan background would go really well with being a changeling. It's
Absolutely.
like they're all charlatans to begin with.
Oh, those skill set with that race, that could work well.
And then there was another budding sect that was coming out where they believed in not changing and living in their natural state, and in trying to force the rest of the world, the realm around them, to kind of accept them for who they were and what they are.
And while there are some, as in any world, that will accept those that look and act different, there's always going to be the populace that is like, no, you don't fit in. Go off and go look normal.
So while playing Eberron, artificers, bards, and rogues all made awesome changelings.
I mean, changelings made awesome rogues, bards, and artificers.
Yeah, it could be that way around.
Now, for me, one of the things that was a big draw about Eberron was the Warforged. I don't know what it is about constructs that really speak out to me. Maybe it's, my love of watching Transformers and GoBots as a kid, but robots are cool, and Warforged are as close to being a robot in D&D as you're probably ever going to get. So they made this race Warforged, and they were created literally for the war. And we'll get into the Hundred Years' War in a later video. But they were created in forges. But each Warforged is a living being. It's got its own soul. It's got its own thoughts and personalities and wishes and everything else. But they were created soldiers. They don't have an infantile stage. They don't have a growth stage. They were created as one body, and boom, off to war you go.
Yeah, the Warforged were very interesting in the sense that one, they actually created by House Cannith for the war, and they were mass produced, they were sold at the Treaty of Thronehold. They were actually given their independence and recognized as their own people. They were individuals, and one of the things that even House Cannith can't explain is they each had this runic mark that appears on their forehead when they were forged, and it's unique to them. They call a gula or something like that. It was called. They also created a subtype of construct for them called a living construct. So unlike most constructs, in third edition anyway, they actually had a constitution score.
Right.
They didn't necessarily have biological functions, and they had like a lot of like these weird idiosyncrasies compared to your other standard races where healing magic was less effective on them, but you could repair them instead.
Yeah, there was a whole section of spells that, as opposed to having cure wounds, there was repair light damage, and it did the same amount as opposed to half to a construct.
Yeah. Then, in addition to that, there was different like Warforged feats you could take that would like upgrade their armor, whether it was mithril or adamantium, or actually stripping it and making it wood, so they could do things like be a druid.
So there was so many options and so many things that you could do as a Warforged. It was really flippin' cool. I'd love to see it brought back in full. Yes, there is the Unearthed Arcana version of the Warforged, and
It needs a lot of work.
all of the Eberron stuff. It's like, well, we'll give you a tease to let you see what it was, but it's not enough. I think all of it are way too underpowered in comparison to the other races.
If I remember, I will try and find the links to Keith Baker's blog where he actually does some Warforged stuff over there as well for you guys to check out. He does have a blog where he does regularly put up more new content about Eberron, so you guys can check that out.
So next we have shifters.
So shifter, you play a shifter if you kind of want to be a werewolf, right? Like they're lycanthropic light. They have a cool history where one, they're descendants of lycanthropes. Two, they actually went through this inquisition period with the Church of the Silver Flame where they were hunted down and they tried to eradicate them and drive them into extinction. They basically grouped them along with lycanthropes, werewolves and other were creatures, and said they were the same, and essentially tried to destroy them. And even to this day, there's probably members of the Silver Flame that have a deep-rooted prejudice against them.
So, racism aside, there is some really cool stuff that the shifters have the ability to do. And depending upon which sub race of shifter you are, determines what kind of abilities you have when you shift. And you could grow claws or fangs, or you could get an armored hide, and you get all kinds of abilities that aid you in combat, and really mechanically add a lot of flavor to the game that wasn't there previously. And it's built into your race. You have it from moment one.
Yeah, so basically they had the ability to shift, like Ted said, which is it's almost like barbarian, like a racial barbarian rage. In fact, I always thought the coolest thing was to be a barbarian shifter, and you could shift and rage at the same time to for some interesting effects. And they had cool names like Wild Hunt, Beast Hide, Razor Claw,
Long Stride,
Long Strider. There was also Long Fang, or it was either Long Fang or Long Tooth. There was also like Cliff Walker, and any kind of animal there was. Basically, they had a shifter type for it in third edition Dungeons and Dragons. So it does. I really feel like fifth edition's way of doing sub races works excellent for the shifter.
I would agree.
And so technically, shifters tend to make better like druids, rangers, barbarians. they're already like geared towards it. They tend to be more like I see them being as more of rural designings rather than urban or in your cities. I
Right.
feel like that's where they're more at home.
Well, they're not only are they more at home, but they're more welcome there. You know, the silver flame isn't everywhere. There are still some in places, and they would rather be like, oh, look, I'm more comfortable in the forest than I am in that collection of buildings where there might be somebody that doesn't like me.
Well, and they're natural trackers and hunters as well.
So with druids, barbarians, and rangers naturally prefer the not town. So
Yeah, I forget what game it was. I had a shifter cleric of the Dark Six that I really wanted to play. I made him up, and like we never really played that game. I don't think.
right.
But Eberron is one of the coolest settings there is, and those three races alone kind of set it apart from anything else that's out there. Let us know in the comments below what you think. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can hang out with us over on Facebook.
So until next time,
Stay nerdy.